Hello everyone, welcome back to class. Today we are going to talk about family diversity and observation process. So here's the agenda for today. After this lecture, we're going to take a look at one assessment instrument called TPBA2. And you have to submit your exit ticket number 3. You will see 2 questions embedded to this lecture. As you listen to the lecture, as you see the question, you can write down your answer in a doc file and then you can submit it after lecture. United States is rapidly changing and the groups currently labeled minority will be majority by 2042. I'm not talking about the diversity by race or nationality, but diversity can be classified by so many different factors such as ACS, disability, religion. There are so many different factors, right? So actually, everyone in the world is different and everyone in the world is diverse. So people now think that at schools, intervention service or assessment process should be each family focused because each individual or each family is different and they have their own culture. And family center is probably the easiest approach to provide service to meet each family's needs, right? Because now we know each family has different needs and each family has their different home culture. Family center practice was developed based on the family systems theory, and the family system theory was actually influenced by the famous ecological system theory. According to the ecological system theory, a child has individual culture, and the culture is developed and shaped by cultural, contextual, and psychological factors and the interactions between all of those factors. So, understanding a child thoroughly will be really important to provide adequate or relevant services to meet the child's and the family's needs. Okay, ecological system theory is used as person-centered planning methods to identify instructional priorities based on a student's current and future environment and the student's and family's preference. Therefore, this approach focuses on the student's environment in conducting planning. Okay, here's an overview of ecological system theory. There are 5 systems of influence. The first one is microsystem. The microsystem is a child's immediate environments and variable that the child is directly and always exposed to. For example, family, school, religious institution, neighbors, and peers. As you see in this figure, you can see this individual young child's microsystem, that is immediate family, child care center or school, and neighborhood play area. And the mesosystem is simply the interconnections between the microsystems, like interactions between the family and teachers, and relationship between the child's peers, the friends, and the family that will affect the child's culture, right? EXO is social settings or institution of society that indirectly affects a child's development. For example, parents' workplace, extended family, social worker, but these EXO system still affects the child's development indirectly. And it impacts a child's development by influencing structures in the microsystem. And the next one is macrosystem. It includes values, laws, customs, and resources that affects activity at all other levels. For example, if your student has a disability, then the law IDA will affect students' life and development. And like insurance, like parents' employment benefits and insurance will affect students' quality of life, and if student has some racial background, for example, my case, Korean culture will affect my life, right? So that's macro. And the last one is chrono. As you see in this figure, the chrono is passage of time. So as time goes by, the culture is developing, changing, and also the culture is modified. Okay, so like I said before, by doing this analysis, you can plan person-centered and family-centered intervention, which means you can have individualized interventions or modifications as needed to meet each child's and family's needs and needs based on your analysis, and that will possibly facilitate families' involvement too. Nowadays, the definition of effective early childhood program sounds like this. Effective early childhood programs are to understand fully the needs of families in their roles as parents and to use tools and strategy that will enhance collaboration and parenting practices unique to the needs of parents' children and that will work within the context of family's rhythm, ritual, and routines. So sounds like the person-centered, family-centered, and ecological system understanding is very critical to make effective early childhood program, right? Everyone has culture, and culture is the ways in which one perceives, believes, evaluates, and behaves. And culture is one's life map or blueprints by which decisions are made and the actions of others are evaluated. A nation such as United States has the overarching national cultures as well. You may not agree, but in the most literatures, United States overarching culture is described as individualism. You may not agree though, right? But within the nation, there are several microcultures as well. The microculture is developed by race, gender, religion, age, geographical area, income, language, so many different factors. So people in a nation live with their personal culture, microculture, and national culture, the macroculture. In order to increase cross-cultural competencies, as a teacher, you need to increase cultural awareness. Culture is always changing, adaptable, and developing. And you, teacher, has your own cultural value and value system, and family bring their own cultural value and system and belief. So we should not judge the value of a culture, just aware that everyone is different and teachers may need to respect the difference. Now, observational assessment. So we will talk about the purposes of observation and different types of observation. Observation is the most commonly used methods of informal assessment, and observation can be used in various ways like screening students, making educational decisions, collecting baseline data before intervention, and evaluating the effectiveness of an intervention program. And teacher can collect information through observations in various settings like structures and unstructured context in a school. A single observation is not very helpful, so you will do multiple repeated observations to make your observations more reliable and valid. And you will need to do focused observations with a planned format. So for your final project, I recommended you to use ecological inventory, right? Observations will help you identify students' strengths or weaknesses. Observation can be used systematically. When your student shows challenging behaviors, for example, you can use ABC observation system. Okay, so what is ABC procedures? Like observations in classroom often used to see how environmental factors affect the target behavior. For example, when you see your students challenging behaviors, you define the target behavior, the challenging behavior, and select the focused observation setting. Also, you will determine the time of day for observation. Then you will see what happened right before and after the behavior and find out the factors that affects the challenging behaviors reoccurring. So A means antecedent, what happened before the challenging behavior. B is behavior, you will observe the behavior, and C is consequence, you will see what happened after the behavior. So you can figure out why the behavior occurs by doing observations. There are several recording techniques. The first one is anecdotal recording. Anecdotal recording is a written account of an observation of a child after the event has taken place. Just simply describe what happened. Running recording is very common form. This is a written narrative documented during an observation of a child. Event recording is very simple. You will just record the frequency of behavior using telemarks. So 5 times happen in 1 hour, something like that. Duration recording focuses on the length of time some behavior lasts. So if your target behavior is tantrum, then you will record how long each tantrum lasts. Like the first tantrum lasts for 3 minutes, the second tantrum will last for 2 minutes, something like that. That's duration. Latency recording, you will record how long it will take for an individual to initiate some target behavior. For example, if your students is always out of task and teacher just say grab the pencil, and you will just record how long it takes for him to grab the pencil from the moment you say grab the pencil, and you will see how long does it take and to be on the task. To become more accurate observers, you have to define the target behavior, how the behavior looks like, and you have to identify at least three observation settings. So you will do observation across setting because we want to be more accurate, right, and reliable. And also, teacher, you have to determine the time of day and the length of time the observation will occur before observations. Um, During the observation, your student will not be asked to do anything specific. You will just do natural observations, and like I said before, you will do observation across multiple settings like structured setting, unstructured setting. So structured setting includes like classroom activity involving large group discussion, greeting times or closing times. Unstructured content includes snack, lunch, and recess, like free times. And if you are assessing very young children, your focus on observation often centered on play because during play, young children they exhibit their developmental level and capacity. So, like social skill, language skill, sensory, fine and gross motor skill, adaptive behavior, and regulatory and other important skills. So, play settings is very important, valuable setting for your observation. So, this is the first question for your exit ticket. So you can open a docs file and then you can write down your answer, and then later you will see one more question. When you're done answering the two questions, you can submit your docs file to Blackboard. There are several systems an observer can use. First one is rubric. Rubrics include categories, scores, and descriptions that are used as a guide to evaluate products or projects. A rubric should involve a strong knowledge of the skills a teacher is expecting the student to master, and it has two different types. The first one is analytic rubric. Second one is holistic rubric. For our case study, for example, final project, we are using holistic rubric. In holistic rubric, an overall evaluation of the product is given, and criteria are not assessed separately. Similarly, there are checklists and rating scales. Checklists consist of criteria or descriptions where the observer indicates accuracy by checking yes or no response to indicate the presence or absence of a characteristic or behavior. Rating scale is very similar, but it includes agreements to descriptions by choosing 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4, 0 to 5, or strongly agree to strongly disagree. But checklists and rating scales allow the teacher to compare students' behavior with desired behavior, facilitate progress on IEP goals, and focus families and teachers on students' goals. Here's the most commonly used checklist and rating scales by different disability or developmental areas. Some of them are standardized tests, as you can see. The format of checklist and rating scales are embedded into standardized tests, so those tests are sometimes diagnosed students' disability. So this is a second question for your exit ticket. Describe why observation is more effective than screening tests to identify children with developmental delays or disabilities. So what you need to do right now is you can save your answer in one document, and then you can submit it to Blackboard. That will be your exit ticket. And if you have any questions or concerns, email me anytime. My email address is sunnykim@uic.edu. I'll see you next time. Bye.